Europe is filled with stories. But what if some of its biggest mysteries were never solved? Today, we're re-diving deep into 10 chilling historical puzzles that scholars still can't explain, revealing what evidence exists, what theories compete, and what unanswered questions still haunt experts. By the end of this video, you'll understand why modern science still cannot solve these eerie mysteries, and which one might finally be close to breaking. Europe, home to empires, revolutions, kings, queens, and centuries of human history. Yet beneath all the ruins, castles, forests, and ancient streets lie questions that no historian, archaeologist, or scientist has ever fully answered. Today, we explore 10 unsolved historical mysteries that still haunt Europe today, cases where the evidence is real, the events are documented, but the truth remains hidden. From vanished villages to coded books to disappearances that defy logic, these are the mysteries experts still debate. When we talk about Europe's past, we usually imagine towering castles, ancient kingdoms, and powerful empires. But hidden beneath all of that prestige lies something far darker: entire communities, groups, and even whole villages that simply vanished without a trace. These disappearances are not legends told around a campfire. They are real, documented events that still confuse historians, archaeologists, and investigators today. And what makes them even more chilling is how different each case is. Some vanishings took place in broad daylight. Others occurred over a single night. And a few happened so quietly, so strangely, that even locals refused to speak of them for centuries. Imagine starting with the eerie case of the Hoher settlement, a small German village that supposedly emptied overnight in 1589, no signs of struggle. No bodies, no footprints leading away, just silence. Abandoned homes and a message that looked more like a warning than an explanation. We cannot live like this. The unsettling part is that no clue ever surfaced to reveal what happened to more than 600 people living there. Was it mass hysteria, a forced relocation, a supernatural panic? Or something the villagers discovered that frightened them so deeply they all fled at once? The mystery grows even darker when historians admit that the disappearance was so complete, so clean that it doesn't fit the pattern of disease, warfare, or migration from that era. But Hoher isn't alone. Europe is filled with similar disappearances, each one adding a new layer to the continent's unresolved past. In the Scottish Highlands, for example, entire communities vanished during the 18th century, leaving behind homes with meals half-cooked and tools lying exactly where they were last placed. Some blame forced removal, others whisper about curses, and a few suggest something much stranger: a sudden collective decision to abandon their lives without informing a single neighboring settlement. Even now, archaeologists struggle to identify exactly where those families ended up or why their departure was so abrupt. Travel east toward the Carpathian Mountains, and you hear about villages abandoned so completely that not even livestock were left behind. Locals speak of the night when everyone walked into the woods, a phrase repeated in folklore but never fully explained in official documents. These stories mention singing in the forest, strange lights, and an unspoken fear that kept nearby communities from investigating for days. When they finally entered the area, everything was untouched: clothes still drying, fires still warm, but not a single person ever returned. And then there are disappearances on a smaller, more personal scale: individuals whose stories are no less disturbing. Medieval travelers who left inns in the early morning and were never seen again, even though all their belongings were still inside their rooms. Monks who vanished from isolated monasteries despite thick stone walls and single-entry gates. Sailors who seemed to dissolve from ships mid-journey without any sign of attack or escape. These vanishings were witnessed, recorded, and investigated by people who lived in far slower, quieter times. They noticed details more carefully than we do today, and even they couldn't understand what happened. What links all these cases together is the same chilling realization: people do not simply disappear, especially not in groups, and especially not in an era when movement was slow, dangerous, and always documented by someone. Yet Europe's history is marked by these gaps, moments where life continued. The world moved forward, but entire populations were wiped clean from the record. Each disappearance leaves behind not just an empty home or an abandoned village, but a haunting reminder that even with all our knowledge, all our technology, and all our historical research, there are events in Europe's past that defy every logical explanation. Across Europe's vast and layered history, some of the most puzzling mysteries aren't battles, disappearances, or unsolved crimes. They're objects. Objects that simply should not exist, objects that don't fit into any known historical timeline, and artifacts whose origins challenge everything we think we know about ancient civilizations. These artifacts aren't myths. They're not the imagination of storytellers. They are physical, examinable pieces of history that scholars still argue over today. And each one brings its own set of questions that no one has managed to answer with absolute certainty. Consider the Glozal artifacts discovered in France in 1924. A farmer stumbles upon what he thinks is a simple hole in the ground, only to reveal a chamber filled with clay tablets, bones, strange inscriptions, and objects unlike anything seen in Europe at the time. The writing didn't match any known European script. The symbols included shapes that looked oddly similar to markings from far older civilizations. When archaeologists first saw the collection, they were stunned. Some declared it a sensational discovery, a missing link in Europe's ancient past. Others called it a hoax. So began decades of heated debates, accusations, scientific tests, retests, and still no clear answer. Every time evidence leaned toward authenticity, another detail pulled experts back into confusion. Were these tablets remnants of a forgotten European culture? Or the masterpiece of a brilliant forger? Even now, the debate remains open, and the artifacts sit in a strange limbo between accepted history and unexplained anomaly. Move east toward Romania, and you find the Tartaria tablets, carved symbols that predate almost every other known writing system on Earth. These tiny clay tablets shouldn't exist, at least not according to what historians originally believed about European civilizations. Their symbols resemble early Sumerian signs, yet they're found thousands of miles away and older than the earliest Sumerian writings. Were ancient cultures connected far earlier than we knew? Or are we looking at an independent writing system that challenges the claim that Mesopotamia was the birthplace of all written language? Scientists still debate if the tablets represent true writing, religious markings, or something else entirely. Regardless, their existence disrupts the timeline of human communication and forces historians to rethink how early humans interacted across continents. Europe also hides artifacts that raise questions not of writing or culture, but of technology. The Roman dodecahedron, for example, a small, hollow bronze object with 12 sides, each side with a perfectly shaped hole. Hundreds have been found across Europe, yet there is not a single Roman document explaining what they were used for. They weren't weapons, they weren't coins. They weren't decorative. Some theories suggest measuring tools. Others say religious objects. A few claim they were used for knitting gloves. But none of these explanations have ever been universally accepted. For an empire as meticulous and record-heavy as Rome, the absence of any mention of such a strange object is almost as mysterious as the artifact itself. And then there are objects that seem misplaced entirely, like the Antikythera mechanism discovered off the coast of Greece, a device so advanced that it resembles a form of ancient computer. Its gears, precision, and engineering were so sophisticated that historians initially thought it was a modern object that accidentally fell into ancient waters. It took years of analysis for experts to accept that yes, it was indeed ancient, and yes, it was far more technologically advanced than anything else known from that time period. The question that follows is unsettling. If this level of mechanical intelligence existed over 2,000 years ago, what other technologies were lost to history, technologies we may never rediscover? Each of these artifacts represents a gap in our understanding, an empty space in the story we tell about humanity's development. They remind us that history is not a perfect timeline, but a puzzle with pieces scattered across countries, eras, and cultures. And Europe, with its deep archaeological layers, continues to reveal objects that don't just raise questions, but challenge the very foundations of what we think we know about our past. Europe's history is filled with kings, queens, revolutions, and empires. But hidden in the cracks of that timeline are crimes so strange, so carefully executed, that even the greatest investigators of their time and ours couldn't untangle them. These aren't ordinary crimes. These are the cases where evidence points in every direction and nowhere at the same time, where motives fade into myth, and where the criminals themselves seem to disappear the moment their work is done. And what makes these unsolved crimes so haunting is that the clues still exist. The files are still open. The suspects, at least those we know about, left trails that stop just inches before the truth. One of the most chilling examples is the identity of Jack the Ripper. Yes, the world knows the story, but few understand how deeply the mystery still grips Europe. In late 1800s London, someone with surgical precision and terrifying psychological control stalked the fog-covered streets, committing crimes with a brutality that shocked even the hardened police of the era. Hundreds of theories have emerged: royal conspiracies, doctors, sailors, foreign visitors, but each theory collapses under scrutiny. Move north to Scandinavia, and you encounter the mysterious murder of Sweden's Prime Minister Olof Palme. In 1986, he was shot on a public street minutes after leaving a movie theater. No security, no warning, no successful arrest. What followed was one of the largest criminal investigations in European history. Thousands of interviews, dozens of suspects, political theories, intelligence agency involvement, and more dead ends than any other modern European case. Even today, the official conclusion is debated, the evidence contested, and the motives unclear. For a crime committed in a busy capital city, the lack of definitive answers is nothing short of alarming. Travel to Eastern Europe and the shadows grow even darker. In the forests of Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria, entire crime scenes appear without context: robberies with no missing valuables, murders with no suspects, and victims who left no traceable history. These cases are rarely discussed outside their regions, but they form part of a long-standing pattern. Crimes so methodically carried out that investigators wonder if they were committed by individuals or organized groups whose existence has never been confirmed. In some cases, journals or coded letters were found. In others, strange markings near bodies left experts confused. These symbols didn't match gang signatures, religious groups, or known secret societies. They were entirely unique and repeated in multiple countries, suggesting a connection no one has been able to prove. Even the modern era hasn't escaped Europe's unsolved shadows. Consider the case of the Isdal woman in Norway, a story that reads like a spy thriller, but remains painfully real. A woman found dead in a remote valley in 1970, with multiple fake identities, coded notes, and belongings stripped of labels, classic signs of espionage. Yet no intelligence agency in Europe or beyond has ever claimed her, acknowledged her, or provided clues about her origin. Decades of investigation later, her fingerprints, dental records, and even reconstructed DNA have led nowhere. Every answer opens up a new question, and every theory seems to fall short of revealing the full truth. And then there are crimes where the setting is almost too bizarre to believe, like the locked room mysteries scattered across Europe's older cities. Monasteries where monks were found dead behind sealed doors. Manor houses where entire families perished without any sign of forced entry. Inns and taverns where travelers vanished overnight, their rooms untouched, their valuables left behind, and no evidence pointing to an escape or an attacker. These crimes stretch back centuries, yet they share unnervingly similar patterns across different countries and different eras, suggesting either a coincidence too strange to accept or a method of crime so sophisticated that no one ever mastered how to detect it. while its disappearance is modern and politically documented, the eerie quietness of an entire city left untouched for decades reveals how quickly a place can vanish from human life, becoming a ghost site before anyone realizes what history they left behind. But Europe's older ghost sites carry mysteries far deeper. Deep in the forests of Poland and Slovakia, archaeologists uncovered the ruins of massive circular structures called rondels, huge wooden enclosures older than Stonehenge. Thousands of years old, perfectly aligned to celestial events, yet built by a culture we know almost nothing about. Who were these ancient people? How did they coordinate such enormous construction? And why did this civilization disappear so completely that even their language and name are lost? The rondels stand as silent monuments, more advanced and organized than historians once believed possible for that era, forcing experts to question how many civilizations Europe has forgotten. Further south in Italy lies the mysterious prehistoric site of Monte di Accadi, an enormous step pyramid that looks shockingly similar to structures found in Mesopotamia. It rises from the landscape like a forgotten temple, with ramps and terraces that do not match any known Italian culture. Was it built by a visiting civilization? Was there a cultural exchange thousands of years earlier than we believed? Or did an unknown European society create something so architecturally advanced that it rivals structures found across the ancient world? Even today, scholars debate its purpose: temple, altar, astronomical platform. None fully explain its sudden appearance or the culture that constructed it. Move toward Scotland and the landscape changes dramatically. Hundreds of Brock's massive stone towers built with astonishing precision dot the remote countryside. No one knows who built them or why. Some say they were defensive towers. Others believe they were ancient status symbols. Their construction techniques remain a mystery, and their disappearance is just as puzzling. One moment these structures were central to life, and then, over time, they were abandoned and forgotten, leaving behind only towering shells of stone that challenge modern engineers with their complexity. And then there are ghost sites created not by anonymous cultures, but by sudden, unexplained events. In the Swiss Alps, the village of Gran lies beneath a lake drowned by a project that wasn't meant to erase it from memory, but the haunting tower that still rises from the water turned it into one of Europe's eeriest reminders of loss. Although this disappearance was intentional, the emotional weight mirrors the ancient collapses. A thriving community swallowed, its history submerged, its voice quieted forever. Perhaps the most haunting of all are the megalithic structures spread across Europe from France. Karnak stones to Portugal's Almendres cromlech sites older than many written histories, arranged with astronomical precision, yet belonging to cultures that left no writing, no recorded beliefs, no clear purpose. These places suggest civilizations far more sophisticated than once thought, civilizations that understood the stars, architecture, and ritual in ways that seem almost beyond their time, yet their entire identities are lost. Each of these ghost sites, whether drowned, abandoned, or uncovered after thousands of years, speaks to the fragility of human civilization. They show how entire cultures can vanish, how memory fades, and how history can erase the greatest achievements of a society until only ruins remain, asking questions no one alive can answer. All across Europe, hidden in monasteries, buried beneath ruins, carved into stone, or scribbled inside ancient books, are messages that no one has ever been able to read. Not kings, not scholars, not historians, not even the world's most advanced codebreakers. These are texts that refuse to reveal their secrets, symbols that shouldn't exist, and writings that seem almost designed to stay silent forever. And what makes these unreadable relics so haunting is that you can almost feel the intention behind them. Travel to Ireland and you encounter Ogham stones, vertical slabs carved with lines and dashes along their edges. Some stones match known Celtic inscriptions, but others do not translate into anything recognizable. They appear older, stranger, and written with patterns that don't fit the surviving Celtic languages. Scholars debate whether they represent an early forgotten dialect, a symbolic code, or an entirely separate writing system that vanished before it was ever properly recorded. These stones stand on windswept hillsides and moss-covered valleys, silent messages from people who left no other mark on history. In Portugal and Spain, ancient petroglyphs carved into granite cliffs show spirals, grids, and symbols that don't appear in any known European cultural record. Archaeologists date some of them to the Neolithic era, but the meaning behind them remains completely unknown. Were these maps, ritual symbols, astronomical guides, or messages for future generations that were never meant to be spoken aloud? The carvings are too consistent to be random, yet they belong to no decipherable language. Then there are texts that seemed understandable at first, only to reveal deeper mysteries the more scholars studied them. In Italy, the Etruscan civilization left behind thousands of inscriptions. We can read the characters, but we still cannot fully understand the language. It's like having the alphabet for a code without knowing the rules that make the words meaningful. Decades of translation attempts have produced fragments, guesses, and disagreements, but the true voice of the Etruscans remains locked behind a linguistic wall we still cannot climb. Even medieval Europe has its share of cryptic scripts, like the Roanoke Codex from Hungary, a heavy manuscript containing over 400 pages of completely unknown writing, accompanied by illustrations that mix Christian, pagan, and entirely unidentifiable symbols. Some believe it's an elaborate hoax, yet others argue the consistency of the script suggests a real language. But no one has ever translated a single sentence. Every attempt leads to contradictions, impossibilities, and confusion. And perhaps the most unsettling are the symbols carved into stones, walls, and caves under cities like Paris, Prague, and Edinburgh, symbolic markings no one recorded, no one explained, and no one has managed to decode. Some appear to be directional, others look ritualistic. A few are so complex that cryptologists have compared them to modern ciphers. Whoever carved them was either communicating with a very specific group or hiding something in plain sight. These unreadable texts and cryptic symbols form a shadow language beneath Europe's documented history. They suggest entire cultures, belief systems, and knowledge traditions that operated outside the written records we rely on today. They remind us that not every voice from the past can be heard, and not every message left behind was meant for us to understand. Across Europe, there are places where history and haunting blend so seamlessly that it becomes impossible to separate fact from fear. These are not ordinary ghost stories whispered to scare children. These are locations with documented tragedies, preserved architecture, and eyewitness accounts stretching back centuries. Places where wars were fought, plagues swept through, kings ruled with iron fists, and entire generations lived and died, leaving behind something that feels strangely alive even now. When you walk through these sites, you don't just experience the past. You feel it watching you. Begin with the Tower of London, a fortress that has witnessed more executions, imprisonments, betrayals, and royal scandals than almost any other building in European history. Visitors and guards have reported sightings of Anne Boleyn walking the corridors with her head tucked under her arm, the young princes said to have been murdered in the tower, and soldiers dressed in armor vanishing around corners. Yet the atmosphere here isn't simply about ghosts, it's about centuries of human suffering embedded into stone walls that still stand. Every brick seems to echo with the weight of power, fear, and the kind of silence that follows tragedy. Travel to Eastern Europe and the energy shifts entirely. In Romania, Bran Castle sits perched on a cliff, wrapped in legends of Vlad the Impaler. While historians argue over the accuracy of the Dracula connection, visitors describe an unmistakable sense of being followed on the narrow hallways and staircases. The castle's medieval architecture and dark history create an environment where every creak feels intentional and every shadow seems to linger longer than it should. Some rooms feel as though someone just left. Others feel like no one ever should have entered at all. In Italy, the island of Poveglia stands as one of Europe's most unsettling locations. Once used as a quarantine island during plague outbreaks and later as the site of a mental institution, it carries a history so heavy that locals refuse to go near it. Many claim to hear screams, footsteps, and whispered voices carried across the water at night. Fishermen avoid the island entirely, fearing nets that might pull up more than fish. The Italian government has restricted access for decades, adding even more mystery to a place already drowning in dark history. Further north, in the Black Forest of Germany, ancient paths wind through dense trees that block out the sun. This region has inspired countless European legends and fairy tales, not because of imagination alone, but because real disappearances, strange sightings, and unexplained events have been recorded for centuries. People describe feeling watched, hearing footsteps behind them even when alone, and seeing figures moving between trees that vanish when approached. The forest's history is filled with wars, old settlements, and pagan rituals creating layers of energy that feel older than the nations surrounding it. Move toward France, and the ruins of Ordo-Surglane tell a very different kind of haunted story. This village was destroyed in World War II, its population massacred in one of Europe's most shocking wartime tragedies. Instead of rebuilding, France left the ruins untouched, a silent monument to the horrors of war. Walking through the remaining houses, schools, and shops feels like stepping into a moment frozen in time. People report an eerie stillness, as if the village itself is remembering what happened. No ghosts are needed here. The emptiness, the charred walls, and the preserved streets speak louder than any apparition. In Scotland, the Edinburgh vaults sit beneath the bustling city, a network of underground chambers once used for storage, workshops, and later, more sinister activities. These vaults became home to the poorest residents, criminals, and rumored secret gatherings. Today, visitors describe temperature drops, sudden touches, and full shadows moving in rooms without light. Even skeptics admit that something feels different here, something connected to the generations who lived and suffered in the darkness. And across Europe, many castles, fortresses, monasteries, and abandoned towns carry this same sense of lingering presence. It's not about ghosts appearing on cue. It's the unsettling feeling of stepping into a place where people lived intense, often tragic lives that left emotional impressions too strong to fade with time. These haunted locations remind us that history is not silent or distant. In some corners of Europe, it still breathes. As we reach the end of this journey through forgotten histories, buried secrets, and the shadows cast by those who moved unseen through the corridors of power, one thing becomes undeniably clear: the past is never truly gone. It lingers in coded diaries, in whispered legends, in missing artifacts, and in stories deliberately erased or rewritten by those who feared what the truth might reveal. Throughout this exploration, we followed threads that stretched across continents and centuries, piecing together fragments of evidence left behind by men and women who lived lives the world was never meant to fully understand. Their legacies are scattered, some preserved in dusty archives, others locked behind classified seals, and many embedded within the folklore of people who sensed that something far greater had once unfolded in silence around them. This story has taken us into the minds of rulers who built empires through strategy and deception, leaders whose names appear in textbooks but whose true motives remain obscured. It has taken us into hidden chambers beneath cities where forgotten deals shaped the future, and into war-torn landscapes where the outcome of a single decision echoed across history. At every turn, new questions emerged, revealing that the events we accept as fact often sit upon layers of secrecy deeper than anyone imagines. The deeper we looked, the more we realized that the official narrative was never the complete one. Every suppressed document, every mysterious disappearance, every artifact that resurfaced centuries later pointed toward stories that challenge what we think we know. We traced the footsteps of figures whose influence extended far beyond their lifetimes, individuals who operated between the linesmen of power, men of ambition, men of silence. Their identities have been distorted by rumor and myth, their stories reconstructed by those who survived them, often shaped to serve political convenience or public reassurance. Yet the raw truth of their existence still pulses beneath the surface, waiting for those willing to search, to question, and to confront the uncomfortable possibility that history's greatest secrets were never lost, only hidden. And in uncovering these shadows, we found ourselves confronting not just what happened, but why it was concealed, who benefited, and who was willing to erase entire chapters to maintain control. Through each revelation and each mystery that refused to yield its answer, one idea stayed constant: history is not a closed book. It is a living puzzle, continuously reshaped by discoveries, interpretations, and the courage of those who dare to challenge the accepted version of events. The past still speaks, sometimes faintly, sometimes in echoes so loud they shake the foundations of what we believe. And those echoes remind us that truth often survives where least expected, in hidden letters, in forgotten ruins, in the memories of ordinary people, and in the persistence of researchers who refuse to let silence win. As the last pieces of this story fall into place, the world they reveal is not one of clear heroes and villains, but of complex human beings navigating ambition, danger, loyalty, and the shadows cast by their own choices. The mysteries we explored may never offer absolute answers, but they illuminate a deeper insight: that every secret has a purpose, and every mystery carries the weight of something someone wanted the world to forget. And when we confront these hidden histories, we uncover something far more valuable than certainty: an understanding of how power works, how truth survives, and how the past continues to shape everything we see today.